They're just about to smooch, just a little. I'm a big jorts gal. I used my big brain. Lots of folds. Not smooth. So I'm glad I did it. I wasn't matching the right seams. Not my best work, not my worst work. Yeah, are you a chameleon? Oh, hi! Welcome to Sewing Nerd Studios. I'm Jo, and this week we're in the middle of what was the fun project over the practical project. I was gonna do a shorts pattern. I've been doing so much pattern testing and it's been very enriching. That's been the word that's been sticking with me lately. When you have a dog, you need to give them enrichment time. Me as a human also need enrichment time. I just kind of took the week off so that I could try a bunch of stuff. I've had patterns set aside to noodle with for years and years and years, and I haven't used any of them. So I just kind of rapid fire went through a bunch, and then I was about to start on another one because I think I have a lock on the shorts. You know how I've been trying to figure out how to make shorts? Like good denim. I'm a big jorts gal. I've tried a bunch of different patterns, most of them free. If you ever go on the Mood Sewciety website, there's a ton of free patterns on there. But I found a pants pattern that I think is gonna work, but I digress. So I've been testing a ton of patterns. Some have not gone well, but I've still learned stuff. It's just as helpful knowing what I want to do as it is knowing what I don't want to do. So I'm not calling it a loss. All practice makes progress. And I've been talking so much about D&D stuff and how I want to make outfits that are based off my D&D character. That's what I want to work on today. So here is the pattern I am kind of basing stuff off of. I have already taken a lot of liberties. It is Simplicity 0591. And if you can believe it, I have a lot of cape patterns. The thing I liked about this one is it has a yoke. So there's the like shoulder section separate from the cape, where most capes I've made and patterns that I've seen, the cape comes all the way up to the collar. There's not a section here. But having a separate yoke fabric made me think, oh, I have this really bizarre silver fabric to use up that will pair with this velvet and look like armor. Also wears a dark mantle cloak, so I thought kind of combining the two would make this a lot of fun. The difficulty of this is the fabric I want to use. The only like substantial amount of black fabric I have is this dress that I was given by somebody else, and the skirt is pleated, so I knew there would be extra material to work with because it is an already existing garment, and this pattern calls for like 6 or 7 yards of fabric to make the cape. I knew I'd be restricted in a lot of ways. Like, I don't care about the length. This does not need to be a floor length situation. Also, once I realized that the pattern piece, like you see how big commercial patterns the tissue paper is, like how many times you have to unfold it to get the full swath. I had to tape 2 pieces together to make the cape pattern piece, the main one. I've never had to do that before, so that was a good indicator that like we're definitely not going with the full length here. And not only is this one cape piece so big, but it wanted me to cut it out 4 times, where the main thing when you're working on patterns and adjusting things is knowing where things still need to match up. Oh wait, I'm already realizing I wasn't matching the right seams. Oh no, I'm realizing I already did something wrong. Didn't I just say I like that this cape doesn't go right into the hood? I did all this mental math to match up the top edge of the cape to the bottom edge of the hood, but that's not where the attachment points are. There's a yoke in between. The velvet I'm using is a little stretchy, and honestly, if I stretch it, it's gonna give a little bit more fullness, like almost be gathering it into the yoke, and that's fine by me. So we're gonna go with it. Everything's gonna be fine. Would I have been able to do anything differently if I had thought about this earlier? I don't think so. I'm literally using every bit of fabric that I have available. And then the hood, I don't need the hood to be as big as this, and also it's a very like square shape, and I wasn't super into that. I don't want any like pointy bits on the hood for obvious reasons. I took a hood lining that I actually unpicked from a sweatshirt that I had been using, and I just didn't like the pink plaid on the inside, so I replaced the lining with something else. I think I replaced it with like Doctor Who fleece that I was gifted. But I really like the shape of that hood. It's like, it's not too small, but it's also not too big, and it's just a very soft curve. I loosely based the hood for this cape off of a combination between the pattern piece and the plaid hood. Again, working with what I had. there was, you know, not a lot of this silver material left, but I thought having just the whole top section be the silver would be a good look. We are now at assembly stage, and I'm excited to see how this goes together. I was looking at the instructions. If you can believe it, I read the steps before I started stitching things, and it just looks like you attach the cape pieces to the yoke, attach at the shoulder seams, and then you sew the hood on with the binding on the inside of the neck, which I have already cut out. So, ooh, I think my machine is even threaded with black, which is kind of my standard. That's the default setting. Actually, both of my sewing machines I have set up, my Industrial and my Viking, are threaded with black because I'm me. I'm just channeling my inner angsty teen the past couple of years. Let's get to stitching and see how the rest of this project goes. Thanks for tagging along on the journey. Why does this feel weird? I mean, I feel weird all the time, so I don't know if it's just that. It feels a little weird filming. I just haven't done it in a minute, like well over a month since I have like sat and filmed and talked to the camera. That's because I have just had a bunch of medical stuff going on, dental included. Between that and just various other maladies, I've just been a little not here for a while. And you have all probably noticed how the depression has been a huge presence this summer, but we persist. Thanks for being patient with me and for hanging out for whatever shenanigans I get up to. Let us embark on some more right now. I just realized the thing I thought I fucked up, I didn't fuck up. I used my big brain. Lots of folds. Not smooth. I did do the math right. Yeah, what was I thinking about? That I laid the top of the cape piece across the fabric I was going to use for the cape and folded it over 4 times. That's good math. I just assume I messed something up. That's okay. This is good. This is a good thing. I don't need to be stressed about not fucking something up, because I also wasn't stressed about having fucked it up in the first place. I digress. I'm going to get back to assembly. It's just stitching straight lines so far. This is the edge I need to adjust. That doesn't have any hem to it. All right. I'll just kind of ease it into the original hem instead of having like an extra fold over here. It'll be nice. Not my best work, not my worst work. LOL, just kidding. I did mess up. I stitched the back yoke pieces together and the front yoke pieces together instead of front to back, front to back. So let me just unpick this. It's fine. It's fine. I still get a big brain. Hi, good morning. I have a stinky man with me. Yeah, are you a million? Even though this is a relatively quick sew, I've still turned it into a 2-day project. But I was feeling extremely poorly last night. But I did attach and then serge, because this is very like shreddy fabric, this silver. This way. But we've got our yoke. Right? Yeah. And then I should just be able to attach the black velvet skirt from the dress along the bottom. And I can just change up how deep this curve is if I need to cut off some length. Because obviously if the fabric is going down and the back up, that's going to take a longer width than if I just kind of cut across. So I might literally be cutting corners, but not in a skimping kind of way. Then I got my hood in good shape. I did serge the face. Something I am debating about is lining this, but I'm still glad I serged it just because it's gonna be falling apart if I don't reinforce the edges. Right, I don't even need to hem any more than I've already done. That little adjustment I made on the velvet, everything else is hemmed, where I imagine that's a huge chunk of time that I'm saving myself, because the initial pattern, if I was making it to the T, it'd be endless amounts of a bottom edge to deal with, and all curved, and I'm glad to be avoiding that. I'll tell you right now. Oh, also, I just realized I was gifted this fabric, which is more of a warm tone purple than I would like, but there's so much of it and it's so soft. So I actually think a cape out of this would be really nice, and there is a good amount of yardage to this. So I think as far as like clothing goes for my shop and stuff, I'm having a lot of fun imagining the fantasy garments and stuff. Anyway, just a little side tangent my brain is going on today. Someone gifted me that fabric as well as these big honkin' cat curtains, and I am still selling my stuff at the cat cafe in Lowell, so I think I'm gonna make just like big totes out of this. Back to our cape. Yeah, I'll pick out some fabric for the lining. I don't want it to be heavy, and I don't want to go into any other colors. I want to keep this pretty monochromatic. What would you call that? Grayscale? I don't know shit about shit. Okay, let's start sewing some stuff again. So after digging through my scrap bin, I managed to find this gray t-shirt material. I mean, it was a t-shirt. Then I cut it up to use the material to make the lining for this hood. I had like just enough fabric to get the panels I needed. Then once I had all the main sections prepped, like ready for assembly, and some was done after assembly, is I did a lot of understitching. You stitch the seam allowance to one side just because the silver fabric kept wanting to roll in on itself and wasn't looking very nice. I even switched to a proper top stitching thread color. I put some gray on because that was much more discreet than having black everywhere on the silver. It can be a little tricky doing curved edges, but you just gotta make sure the fabric is pulling taut without like stressing the seam. Just want to make sure everything's laying nice and flat. I can't imagine I would have been able to press the silver fabric at all, so this was a good option to make everything look nice. Then there was that binding piece that the pattern called for, and I essentially used it like a bias tape kind of thing. I machine stitched the first edge, but when I folded everything under, I hand stitched it. Make sure everything was going where it needed to. I wanted to finish the ends of the bias tape nice and clean. Then I understitched that to one side just so it wasn't sticking out, which keeps it out of the line of sight from the outside, but also nothing's gonna be like digging into my neck or anything. Then I actually have had these clasps pinned to a cork board from when I used to make and sell custom Hogwarts robes, but we don't do that anymore because fuck TERFs, just in case you're new here. Trans people. They're people, just in case you missed that part. Anyway, so the clasp I think was a good choice. I'm sure I have other styles laying around somewhere, but I had a bulk pile of these that I bought for some Joanne sale like a decade ago. And it was nice to finally use that. And yeah, getting to use up a t-shirt that's been laying around for years, this black velvet dress I was given secondhand, as well as this silver fabric that I was also given secondhand by someone that doesn't even sew. I'm not sure where they got it in the first place, but this is my bread and butter, is like upcycling stuff. And it felt very good to dig through my piles of things. All of my fabric is behind this backdrop. If you've missed my studio overhaul videos from earlier this year, yeah, it's just more functional, more usable. I can access things much easier, and I'm much more aware of what I have because of the layout I now have available to me. It's really nice. So let's do a little try on, shall we? I imagine the drape isn't going to be quite what the pattern is suggesting, just because I was working with the skirt panel that I had available. I do think maybe I should have adjusted how the edge of the yoke looked, but because my D&D character, who this is basically for, has a cloak made out of a dark mantle, which I'm picturing almost like a jellyfish kind of thing, right? So it's fine that it's shorter because my character would have had limited resources, and also just the shape of it. I think it's going to kind of curve in a little more instead of like being a really full train or something. But I also might hate it. So let's test her out, shall we? You know, I also did gathering along the back here, and initially I wasn't gonna, but I do like how it looks from the backside. So I'm glad I did it. All right. So I tried to overlap the clasps so that this bit right here is like, they're just about to smooch, just a little, you know? But I like this. You know what? First instincts, first reaction. This is making me feel a little bit like I'm part of the River Bottom Nightmare gang from Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. It feels a little jazzy in that regard, kind of, you know, Muppet glam rock. Oh, I don't hate this. Oh, I like this a lot. It's not too slouchy, but I do like that it has some give back here, because sometimes hoods like pull a lot. And what happens to me, and I don't know why, maybe I just turn my head one way a lot more than the other, but my hoodies always end up like this, and it drives me bananas. But because there's room back here, it's not like pulling on either side. I'm so happy with it. I haven't made much costumey stuff, and between this and the like dragon outfit I did earlier in the summer, this feels really good. And this one, it wasn't even like a spite-fueled project, but listen, that is a powerful, powerful energy reserve, let me tell you. I like it. The pattern wasn't calling for any kind of contrasting fabric for the yoke, but I really like how this came together. And yeah, it's basically like fingertip length. Like a mid-thigh situation. Which is fine. It covers my butt. I think this is great. If you would like to know how my event goes tonight, that that I'll be adventuring to. You're welcome to go check out the different tiers over on Patreon. Any of the bonus videos are available to any tier. The only big paywalls are like the physical perks, just because obviously I have a lot more work to do for those and then shipping them out. So thank you to everybody over on Patreon already. You're why I get to noodle with stuff like this and just kind of go ham in my scrap bin piles and come up with something really cool like this. I feel very gratified. This certainly counts as proper enrichment for myself. Anyways, I will see you back here with another video in 2 Fridays. Thank you so much for hanging out. Now we're cooking with gas. Big brain, capable of complicated thoughts. But I am impatient, so I don't like doing that.